Darius Williams built a $50 million empire from nothing, but he never forgot the blind mother who raised him alone in the projects. When he married his beautiful white wife Catherine, he thought he had found true love. But when Darius came home early from work one Tuesday morning, what he heard coming from his kitchen made his blood run cold. His wife was screaming at his helpless blind mother, calling her disgusting names and spraying chemicals in her face. The woman he trusted with his heart had been torturing the person he loved most in this world. What Darius did next will shock you and prove that some betrayals can actually lead to the greatest blessings of your life. This is a story about family racism and the kind of love that conquers all hatred. Stay with me because this ending will restore your faith in justice. Darius Williams never forgot where he came from. The smell of his mama's cornbread still filled his dreams, even though he now lived in a mansion worth $50 million. His tech company had made him one of the richest black men in America, but his heart belonged to one person above all others, his blind mother, Rosa Williams. Rosa had lost her sight when Darius was just 12 years old. A terrible accident at the factory where she worked had taken her vision, but never her spirit. She raised Darius alone after his father left them with nothing but broken promises. Through welfare checks and food stamps, Rosa made sure her boy had everything he needed to chase his dreams. "Baby, you got a gift with them computers," Rosa would say as young Darius typed away at an old laptop he bought from a pawn shop. "Don't you ever let nobody tell you that you can't make it because of the color of your skin." Now at 35, Darius had everything money could buy. Fast cars, expensive suits, and a beautiful wife named Catherine, who seemed to love him deeply. They had been married for 3 years, and Catherine always smiled when Rosa visited their home. She would hold Rosa's hand and speak sweetly about how lucky she was to have such a wonderful mother-in-law. "Darius, you found yourself a good woman," Rosa would tell her son after Catherine left the room. "She treats me like her own mama," but something felt wrong to Darius lately. Catherine seemed different when she thought he wasn't watching. Her smile would fade and her voice would change. She started making excuses when Rosa wanted to visit. She would claim to be too busy or too tired to have company. "Maybe we should get your mother her own place," Catherine suggested one evening as they sat in their living room. "She might be more comfortable somewhere designed for people with her condition." Darius felt his blood get hot. Her condition? "Mama is blind, Catherine, not broken." "This is her home too," Catherine quickly backtracked with her fake sweet voice. "Of course, honey, I just thought she might want more independence." The next morning, Darius told his assistant he would be working from home for the week. He needed to spend more time with Rosa, who had been staying with them for 2 months while recovering from a bad fall. Something in his gut told him to pay closer attention to what happened when he left for the office each day. On Tuesday morning, Darius pretended to leave for work as usual. He kissed Catherine goodbye and hugged his mama tight. But instead of driving to his company, he parked around the corner and snuck back into his house through the garage. He could hear voices coming from the kitchen where he had left Rosa eating her breakfast. What he heard made his heart stop beating. "You disgusting old woman, look what you did." Catherine's voice was filled with pure hatred. "You spilled orange juice all over my clean table." Darius heard his mama's gentle voice trying to apologize. "I'm sorry, baby, I didn't mean to make a mess. These old hands don't work like they used to." "Don't call me baby, you blind fool," Catherine screamed. "I'm not your daughter, and I never will be. You people always expect everyone else to clean up after you." Darius felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. "You people." The words hit him like a slap across the face. He crept closer to the kitchen door and peeked inside. What he saw made him want to cry and fight at the same time. Catherine was standing over Rosa, who was still sitting at the table. His mama's hands were shaking as she tried to feel around for something to clean up the spilled juice. Catherine grabbed Rosa's wrist hard enough to leave marks. "Let me tell you something, old woman," Catherine hissed. I married your son for his money, not to be your personal maid. The only reason I'm nice to you when he's around is because I need him to keep paying for my lifestyle." Rosa tried to pull her arm away, but Catherine squeezed harder. "Please don't hurt me," Rosa whispered. "I just want to go home to my own house." "Your house?" Catherine laughed like a crazy person. "That little shack in the projects? Darius sold that dump months ago. You got nowhere to go except where I tell you to go." Darius had heard enough. His whole body was shaking with anger, but he forced himself to stay calm. He needed to see how far Catherine would take her cruelty. He needed proof of who she really was behind her fake smile. Catherine let go of Rosa's arm and walked to the cabinet. She pulled out a bottle of cleaning spray and squirted it directly at Rosa's face. "Clean up your mess, you worthless old bat." Rosa started coughing as the chemicals burned her nose and eyes. She reached around blindly, trying to find paper towels. Catherine watched with an evil grin as Rosa struggled to clean the table while tears streamed down her cheeks. "You missed a spot," Catherine said, kicking Rosa's chair hard. "Maybe if you weren't so useless, your husband wouldn't have left you, and your son wouldn't be stuck taking care of you. That was the last straw." Darius burst through the kitchen door like a hurricane. Catherine jumped back and her face went white as paper. She had never seen Darius look so angry in all the years they had been together. "Darius, baby, you're home early," Catherine stammered, trying to put on her fake sweet voice again. "I was just helping your mother clean up a little accident." "Helping her?" Darius' voice was deadly quiet. "Is that what you call spraying chemicals in a blind woman's face?" Rosa heard her son's voice and started crying harder. "Darius, baby, I'm sorry I made a mess. I didn't mean to cause no trouble." Darius rushed to his mother and gently helped her stand up. He could see red marks on her wrists where Catherine had grabbed her. His mama's eyes were still watering from the cleaning spray. The sight of his gentle mother being hurt by someone she trusted made Darius feel like his heart was breaking into a million pieces. "Mama, you didn't do nothing wrong," Darius said softly as he hugged Rosa close. "Nobody has the right to put their hands on you or talk to you that way." Catherine tried to move toward them with her hands out like she was innocent. "Darius, there's been a misunderstanding. I would never hurt your mother. She fell and I was just trying to help her." "Fell?" Darius turned to stare at his wife like she was a stranger. "I saw everything, Catherine. I heard every word you said to her. I know exactly who you really are." Catherine's fake mask finally slipped off her face completely. The sweet smile disappeared and her true ugly personality came out. "Fine, you want to know the truth? I'm sick of pretending to care about your ghetto mama. I'm tired of acting like I enjoy having her around when she's nothing but a burden." Rosa gasped and tried to step back, but Darius held her steady. He couldn't believe the woman he had married was capable of such cruelty. "A burden?" Darius repeated. "This woman worked 3 jobs to put food on our table. She sacrificed everything so I could have a chance at a better life. She's the reason I became successful enough to give you the lifestyle you love so much." Catherine rolled her eyes like a spoiled child. "Please, Darius, your success had nothing to do with her. You made it because you're smart, not because some blind old woman believed in you." "Some blind old woman?" Darius felt his anger rising again. "That's my mother you're talking about. The woman who raised me to be a man. The woman who taught me that character matters more than color or money." "Character?" Catherine laughed nastily. "Let's talk about character, Marcus. Your precious mama didn't tell you that she's been stealing money from my purse when I'm not looking. $5 and $10 at a time, thinking I wouldn't notice." Darius looked at his mother with surprise. Rosa's face was filled with shame as she spoke in a whisper. "Baby, I never stole nothing from nobody. I've been saving my Social Security money to buy you a birthday present." I asked Catherine if she could help me get to the store, but she kept making excuses. "She's lying, Marcus," Catherine said quickly. Why would you believe her word over mine? I'm your wife. But Darius was already putting the pieces together in his head. Catherine had been controlling Rosa's access to everything. She had been keeping his mother like a prisoner in their own home. The birthday present story made perfect sense because Rosa had always been the type of person who gave gifts even when she had nothing to give. How long has this been going on, Catherine? Darius asked in a voice colder than winter. How long have you been abusing my mother when I'm not here? Abusing her? Catherine tried to laugh, but it sounded forced. I've been taking care of her, Marcus. Feeding her, cooking for her, helping her get around. If that's abuse, then maybe you should be more grateful. Taking care of her by calling her disgusting names, by grabbing her hard enough to leave bruises, by spraying chemicals in her face. Darius was fighting to keep his voice level. That's not taking care of someone, Catherine, that's torture. Catherine realized she was losing the argument and decided to play her last card. She started crying fake tears and reached for Darius like she was the victim. Baby, please don't let her turn you against me. I love you so much, and I've been trying so hard to make your mother feel welcome. Make her feel welcome? Darius stepped away from Catherine like she had a disease. You told her she had nowhere to go. You made her feel like she was worthless and alone. I was frustrated, Marcus, Catherine sobbed with her fake tears. It's hard taking care of someone with special needs. Sometimes I say things I don't mean when I'm stressed, Rosa spoke up in a quiet voice that shook with emotion. Baby, don't blame yourself for who she really is. Some people show you their true face when they think nobody's watching. Darius looked at his mother and felt proud of her strength. Even after being abused and humiliated, Rosa was still trying to protect him from feeling guilty. That was the kind of woman who had raised him to be the man he was today. Catherine, I want you to pack your things and get out of my house, Darius said with finality in his voice. Our marriage is over. Catherine stopped fake crying immediately. Her face turned red with anger and her true racist personality came out completely. You're choosing that old blind woman over your wife? This is exactly why I never should have married a black man. You people always stick together no matter what. You people? Darius repeated quietly. There it is again. The real Catherine finally shows herself. Yes, Darius, you people. Catherine screamed like a crazy person. You think because you got money now that you're equal to me. You think because you wear expensive suits that you belong in my world. You're still just a poor black boy from the projects, and so is your welfare mama. Rosa flinched at the cruel words, but Darius felt something strange happen inside his heart. Instead of getting angrier, he felt calm and clear about what needed to happen next. Catherine had just shown him exactly who she was, and he was grateful to finally see the truth. You're right, Catherine, Darius said in a steady voice. I am a black man from the projects. My mama did raise me on welfare and food stamps. And I'm proud of every single part of that story. Catherine looked confused like she had expected her words to hurt him more. Darius continued speaking with strength in his voice. See, you thought you were insulting me by talking about where I come from. But you just reminded me of something important. My mama taught me that real wealth isn't about money in the bank. It's about having people who love you no matter what. He looked at Rosa with love shining in his eyes. This woman loved me when I had nothing. She believed in me when nobody else would. She worked her fingers to the bone so I could have chances she never had. That makes her richer than you could ever understand. Catherine realized that her plan to hurt Darius with racist words had backfired completely. She had only made him stronger and more sure about what mattered most in life. I'm calling my lawyer, Catherine, Darius said firmly. You'll be hearing from him about divorce papers. I'm also calling the police to report elder abuse. What you did to my mother was a crime. Elder abuse? Catherine laughed nervously. Who's going to believe that I abused her? I'm a respected member of this community, Marcus. Nobody will take the word of some blind old black woman over mine. Darius pulled out his cell phone and held it up. Maybe they'll believe this recording. I made of everything you said and did to her today. Catherine's face went completely white. She had been so focused on torturing Rosa that she never noticed Darius setting up his phone to record when he first came into the kitchen. Everything was captured on video, including her grabbing Rosa's wrists and spraying chemicals in her face. You can't use that in court, Catherine said desperately. That's illegal recording. Actually, Catherine, in this state I have every right to record what happens in my own home, Darius replied calmly. Especially when it's evidence of a crime being committed against my family. Catherine knew she was defeated. Her fake tears and racist insults had failed to control Darius the way they had worked in the past. She was going to lose everything, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. Fine, Darius, you win, Catherine said with venom in her voice. But don't think this is over. I'll take half of everything you own in the divorce. Your precious mama won't save you from that. Darius smiled for the first time since coming home early that day. Catherine, you might want to read the prenup you signed before we got married. You know that document your lawyer told you not to worry about? According to that agreement, you get nothing if our marriage ends due to abuse or adultery. That's not fair. Catherine screamed like a little child having a tantrum. I gave you the best years of my life. No, Catherine, Darius said sadly. You gave me 3 years of lies and fake love while you tortured my mother behind my back. The best years of my life were the ones where this woman raised me to be strong. Enough to see through people like you. Catherine grabbed her purse and headed for the door, but turned back one more time. You'll regret this, Marcus. No decent woman will ever want to marry a mama's boy who lives with his blind mother. Rosa spoke up one final time in a voice full of dignity. Baby, any woman who can't see how good my son is doesn't deserve him anyway. And any woman who would hurt someone just because they're different isn't decent at all. Catherine slammed the door behind her as she left. Darius and Rosa stood in the kitchen listening to her car drive away forever. After a few minutes of silence, Rosa reached out and found her son's hand. Darius, baby, are you okay? Rosa asked with concern in her voice. I know you loved her, and I'm sorry things turned out this way. Darius squeezed his mother's hand and felt tears running down his cheeks. But they weren't tears of sadness about losing Catherine. They were tears of gratitude for having a mother who still worried about his feelings, even after being abused and humiliated. Mama, I'm more than okay, Darius said honestly. I'm free from someone who never really loved me. And I'm grateful that I found out who she really was before she hurt you any worse. Rosa smiled and patted her son's cheek the way she used to when he was a little boy. Baby, you know what this taught me? Sometimes God lets us see people's true hearts so we can protect ourselves and the people we love. Darius realized his mother was right. If Catherine had never shown her true racist personality, he might have spent years married to someone who hated the most important person in his life. The abuse Rosa suffered was terrible, but it had saved them both from a lifetime of lies. Over the next few months, Darius made big changes in his life. He hired the best elder care team in the city, but not to take care of Rosa. He hired them to learn from Rosa about how to help other elderly people who didn't have family support. Together, they started a foundation that provided services for senior citizens who were being neglected or abused. Mama, your experience with Catherine showed me that elder abuse happens everywhere, Darius explained as they toured their new foundation offices. Rich or poor, black or white, it doesn't matter. Some people think they can hurt older folks just because they're vulnerable. Rosa was proud of how her son had turned their painful experience into something positive that would help other families. Baby, you're doing exactly what I always hoped you would do. You're using your success to lift up people who need help. The foundation grew quickly as word spread about their mission. Darius appeared on television shows and spoke at conferences about recognizing the signs of elder abuse. He always brought Rosa with him, and she would share her story about surviving Catherine's cruelty. People need to understand that elder abuse isn't just about strangers in nursing homes, Rosa would tell audiences. Sometimes it's family members or people you trust who hurt you the most. But you don't have to suffer in silence. 2 years after Catherine left, Darius met someone new at one of their foundation events. Dr. Sarah Johnson was a gerontologist who worked with elderly patients who had been victims of abuse. She was a beautiful black woman with kind eyes and a gentle way of speaking to Rosa that reminded Darius of how his mother deserved to be treated. Mrs. Williams, your foundation has helped so many families in our community, Sarah told Rosa during their first meeting. Your courage in sharing your story gives other people strength to speak up about their own situations. Darius watched Sarah interact with his mother and felt something he had never experienced with Catherine. Sarah's kindness toward Rosa was real, not fake. She asked Rosa questions about her life and listened carefully to the answers. She treated Rosa like a person worth knowing, not like a burden to tolerate. Darius, your mother is an amazing woman, Sarah said later when they were having coffee together. You can tell she raised you to be the man you are today. Any woman would be lucky to be part of a family like yours. Those words meant everything to Darius because they came from someone who understood what family really meant. Sarah wasn't looking at Rosa as an obstacle to overcome. She saw Rosa as an asset that made their family stronger. Darius and Sarah dated for a year before he proposed marriage, but first he wanted to make sure Rosa approved of his choice. The three of them were having dinner together when Darius brought up the subject. Mama, what do you think about Sarah? Darius asked nervously. Do you like having her around? Rosa smiled, the biggest smile Darius had seen from her since before Catherine's abuse started. Baby, that woman treats me like I matter. She asks about my day and remembers things I tell her. She makes you laugh in ways I haven't heard since you were a little boy. So you wouldn't mind if she became part of our family permanently? Darius asked hopefully. Rosa reached across the table and found Sarah's hand. Honey, I would be honored to call you my daughter. You got the kind of heart that makes a family stronger, not weaker. Sarah started crying happy tears as she squeezed Rosa's hand back. Mrs. Williams, you raised an incredible son. I promise I'll always treat you with the love and respect you deserve. Darius proposed to Sarah that same night with Rosa's engagement ring from his father. It was a simple gold band with a small diamond, but it represented something much more valuable than Catherine's expensive jewelry had ever meant. This ring belonged to a woman who knew how to love unconditionally. Darius explained as he slipped it on Sarah's finger. I want our marriage to be built on that same kind of real love. The wedding was small but perfect. Rosa walked Darius down the aisle. Since she had been both mother and father to him throughout his life, Sarah's family welcomed Rosa like she had always been part of their community. There were no fake smiles or hidden resentments, just genuine happiness about two families becoming one. During his wedding speech, Darius talked about the lessons he had learned from his failed first marriage. Sometimes God puts difficult people in our lives to show us what real love looks like by comparison, he said, looking at both Rosa and Sarah. My first wife taught me that pretty words don't mean nothing if they're not backed up by beautiful actions. He continued with emotion in his voice. But my mama and my new wife have shown me that real love means accepting people exactly as they are. It means protecting the people you care about and building them up instead of tearing them down. The audience applauded as Darius hugged both women who had taught him the true meaning of family. 5 years later, the foundation had helped thousands of elderly people escape abusive situations. Darius and Sarah had 2 beautiful children who called Rosa Grandmama and learned from her stories about overcoming hardship with dignity and grace. Catherine had tried to sue Darius for money after their divorce, but lost every legal battle. The prenup agreement held up in court, and the recording of her abusing Rosa was used as evidence of her true character. She eventually moved to another state where nobody knew about her past. Darius sometimes wondered what would have happened if he had never caught Catherine abusing his mother. Would she have eventually hurt Rosa badly enough to cause serious injury? Would he have spent his whole life married to someone who hated the person he loved most? "Baby, don't waste time thinking about what could have been," Rosa advised him during one of their regular morning walks. "God protected us both by letting you see the truth when you did." Darius realized his mother was right. The painful experience with Catherine had led him to Sarah and to starting the foundation that had helped so many other families. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us clear the path for the best things that are still coming. "Mama, you saved my life in more ways than one," Darius told Rosa as they sat on their front porch watching his children play in the yard. "You raised me to be strong enough to walk away from people who don't deserve my love." Rosa patted her son's hand the way she had done throughout his entire life. "Baby, all I ever wanted was for you to know your worth. Money can't buy that knowledge, but having people who truly love you can teach it to you." Darius looked at his beautiful family and felt grateful for every struggle that had brought them together. Catherine's racism and cruelty had been painful to experience, but it had also revealed the strength of the bond between him and Rosa. More importantly, it had cleared the way for him to find Sarah, who loved them both completely. "Sometimes the people who try to break us end up making us stronger," Darius reflected as Sarah joined them on the porch with their children. "That's because strong families don't break under pressure," Sarah added as she kissed Rosa's cheek. "They bend together and bounce back even stronger than before." The Williams family had learned that real wealth came from having people who loved you for who you truly were, not what you could provide for them. They had discovered that character mattered more than color, and that family bonds were stronger than hatred or prejudice. Most importantly, they had proven that sometimes the worst experiences in our lives are actually preparing us for the best chapters that are still waiting to be written. As the sun set behind the Williams home, Darius sat on the porch with Rosa, Sarah, and their children, listening to the laughter that filled the yard, and he realized that every trial, every tear, and every heartbreak had been worth it because it brought them to this moment, a moment where love was stronger than hate, where family was stronger than lies, and where hope was stronger than pain. He knew that his story was not just about wealth or success, but about the courage to protect those you love, and the wisdom to let go of those who mean you harm. And as Rosa held her grandchildren close, whispering prayers of gratitude, and Sarah smiled with joy at the life they had built together, Darius finally understood the true meaning of victory: not trophies or money or fame, but the priceless gift of a family united in love, respect, and strength. A family that proved to the world that no matter how dark the night, there is always a dawn waiting to rise brighter than before. And if this story touched your heart, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more powerful tales that inspire hope and remind us all of the strength we carry within.